Hi, I'm so excited you all are here. I am very excited to bring you my own special secret sauce for how to get yourself out of debt. I'm not saying this because I'm an expert, because I'm by means not at all. And I will tell you that within anything that I am working in or sharing, I am not I'm teaching from experience, okay? I'm teaching from the crap I've had to go through to crawl my way out of poverty and welfare and all of these things to get me to where I am today. And I hope that you find it valuable or helpful, or hopefully it's some sort of a simple strategy for you to overcome whatever stuff you're going through. So if you have questions about things that you're struggling with, specifically related to maybe being organized, like marriage, creating a happy life, finding routines, exercise. Did I say being organized? Also, I'm not that organized, but when it comes to like work and my routines, I'm very, very organized with that. So those are just a couple things that I feel like I have some value that I can share for you. So I want to talk a little bit today specifically about how to get out of debt or how to get yourself out of debt. There's going to be some things you hear today that are very hard to hear, but I'm going to need you to listen, because if you're ready for some change, then that's what we're going to talk about today. I'm going to talk to you specifically about how I did it myself. First, I'm going to talk about how or where I was at about 10 years ago, and then kind of explain, share with you some tips and things that I use personally to help support myself and get out of debt. Again, I am not an expert. There are plenty of people out there who can help you, but I would just rather help someone who would like some free advice, because life, we overcomplicate it. We definitely do. Absolutely do. And it's all about your mindset. And if you can figure out how to master that, you will be freaking unstoppable. So let's dive right in and talk about how to get yourself out of debt. So here again are the few things that I did. So first of all, I had to realize that I had an issue. I think any time that we are trying to get to the next level or do something differently, or we're thinking about change, for me, it's always been about being aware of where I'm at. And it's a lot of self reflection. And a lot of that stems from me wanting to be better. So, for example, I might have seen a post or something from someone else, maybe I know personally, because I feel like that's a little easier to find relatable than some of these influencers or celebrities. Like, to me, their lives are just completely different and they cannot relate to what I'm going through as a normal middle age. Oh my God, am I middle aged? No, we're not going there. A normal woman. Okay, let's just leave it at that. So for me, it was a lot about, I saw a post, someone else who might have gotten out of debt, or I saw a friend say something like they were going to try the baby step system and Dave Ramsey's methods, which I love, by the way. Definitely try it. I feel like everything is trial and error, and figure out what works for you. Tweak things to make them work for you. Anyway, I saw a friend post about them getting out of debt and paying like off their car. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I should do that. Like I have a 300, let me be specific, because I love specifics and numbers. Otherwise, my brain sits there and floats out there and thinking about what I think it might be. So I believe, if I remember correctly, my car payment was $374 a month. For I bought it the same year, first time ever I was able to buy a car within the same year. And I was excited about that. I'm like, okay, this is awesome. But for almost $400 a month is kind of disgusting if you think about it. I mean, that's a lot of money. There's a lot of money that you can do with. So I was paying for this car payment. And I asked her, I'm like, so what did you do? You talked about paying off your car, like, and she was totally doing like the Dave Ramsey stepping back and getting a cheaper car. And I'm like, how did you do that? She's like, we can afford the $400 a month or whatever it might be, but why? And that is the word that stuck with me so much. But why? Why? Because we focus so much on society and what everybody else tells us we need to do, or what we think we need. Like, you will have everybody coming at you if you decide to say, hey, I'm going to get out of debt. I'm going to follow, again, we're just going to use Dave Ramsey as an example. I'm going to follow Dave Ramsey's method. You will have people you love, you care about, come at you and say things like, but why would you do that? But if you follow that, then you can't have fun anymore. You can't go out. You can't go out to eat. You can't go dancing or whatever you like to do that's fun for you. Oh, you got to drop, your membership to, I don't know, the gym, like whatever it might be. They will come at you with all of the things that they feel like they tell themselves. That's exactly what they tell themselves when they think about doing the hard things of getting out of debt. And so that's hard. That's hard to process when you have maybe your mom and I'm not saying my mom did that, but I'm just saying people you care about, your best friend, like, girl, stop. If you decide to get yourself out of debt, you know what that means? No more rounds of shots at the bar on Saturday nights. Like, what are we going to do for the bachelorette weekend? Like, there's all these things, but think about what happens if you don't. So what happens if you decide to let that debt sit there and accrue interest over and over and over again? What happens? What happens to your future? What happens to your finances? What happens to you tomorrow? What happens if you can't pay your bills? Like, I've been there. Can't tell you how many times I've looked at my account and I have that panic, like, oh God, I'm in the red. How do I get out of the red? It is a horrible feeling. Nobody should feel like that, but so many people do, and nobody is talking about it. So I'm going to talk to you about it. So here's what I did to get myself out of, and I'm sorry that I don't even remember. My brain is almost $10,000 because that's about how much I had in credit card debt. I love my Discover card. I justified payments because I get points. I get points that get me to buy new things, or I can use them on Amazon, like all the things. And I'm not going to lie, I still love my points. But for me, what I found was that I had this like revolving about $8,500 of debt that just kept going. So I was making over the minimum payment. My minimum payment was, I think, it would fluctuate depending on spending habits, but it was right about anywhere from like $60 a month to like $150 a month. That was about it. And I always paid over, not almost always paid over that. So I would try to pay like $200 a month. Okay. So again, thinking, wow, $50 is paying down that debt. And I felt like I was getting nowhere. And I literally did this for years. Like, again, I'm like, yes, I'm awesome. I'm paying more than my minimum balance. And I'm like, God, but this like debt doesn't go away. So the first thing I'm going to tell you to do is, if you do not have willpower and you, again, reflection is the best thing. If you do not have willpower, I'm going to need you to cut that card up and freeze the account, because I'm not stupid. I know all the loopholes, which you have your account already tied to websites. So if you do not have the willpower, then I suggest you get rid of the card and you take it off of all your accounts. Freeze the account, shut it down, cancel the card. That's it. However, if you're someone like me, who I do have really good willpower, when I set my mind to do something, I'm pretty unstoppable. So that sounds kind of boastful. I don't mean it like that. I'm just telling you, because that's what I'm here to help you do, is to kind of push yourself. And I've done a lot of pushing myself to get where I am today. So that's step one. Get rid of the card, cut it up, cancel it, do all those things. Okay. And then you're going to tackle that debt yourself. What is that going to look like? And you're going to tell me, Jessica, I can't even afford my bills right now. I know, I was there. So for me, I took steps to pay it down as much as I could. It was awful. It's the slowest thing. It's like watching your scale move when you're finally eating right. It is slow. It is boring. It is frustrating. It is like, can I just go back? But I think about money a lot like I do think about food. And we'll use the word calories here. Calories in versus calories out. Your account should be very similar to that. We all know that if you are burning, let's just use a simple number, 1,500 calories a day. That is just breathing. That is your body functioning. It automatically burns calories. Okay. If you are eating 3,200 calories a day, you are going to gain weight because your body is only burning 1,600 or 1,500. Do you understand that, how that shifts? And so I want you to think about your account like that. Money in versus money out. You should not be spending money you don't have. And again, I am not perfect. And I'm not saying that I don't fall off or I don't get excited about something and be like, I'll just put it on my little Discover card because I get points. But I've disciplined myself because I learned from my mistakes, my 10-year mistake. And I don't want you to have the same thing happen to you. or I want you to get out of it if you can. Like now, there's no better time than now. Now stands for no opportunity wasted. So let's take action today. Okay, so that is one. Two, figure out what you need to do. But here's what I did in terms of taking action towards it. So I say, for example, I like auto payments. I also like the budget billing that some of the electric companies do, or like our gas company. And so I have a steady understanding of what my bills will be next month, the month after, and the month after, because I have it set up on a cycle like that. Again, that might not work for you. That's okay. But me, I like that consistency. So knowing that my gas bill was going to be $91 a month would, that was, I knew that. So I could budget for that. I could plan for that. And so within that, what I would do is, if, say, for example, there was a really weird month where my bill was actually lower. So not higher, because that's what the concern is. But if my bill was lower and I was able to shift things around. So if my bill that month was only $71, that had meant I had 20 extra dollars that month to spend. So I would take that $20 and I would put it on my Discover card. As much as I wanted to just go to the Grabba Java and get me a frappe, I did not. It was hard and it sucked. And I'm not going to tell you that it was easy, and I'm not going to tell you it was boring. But if my bill was $90 versus $91 that month, you better believe I was making an extra payment and paying a dollar. And the funny thing is, credit card companies kind of flag you. Like, I'm only allowed to make three, like schedule like three payments. It's super weird, but the company is not out to benefit you. They're not out to get you points. Their job is to make money. Their job is to lend you money and you not be able to pay it back so that they can accrue interest on the money that they lent you. You know, one thing I like to think about a lot is with your home and your mortgage. This is another thing. I ran the numbers for like our home, and there's tons of websites out there for you to do this. I think Bankrate is a really good one. But you can look and see how much you're going to pay in interest. So let's just use, again, a simple number. Your house is $100,000. I know that's pretty modest these days. That's probably Podunk town. I don't know. Doesn't matter. It's just an example. You get $100,000 mortgage from the bank. Again, you probably should be putting some money down, but we're not all in that same situation. By the time you pay back off to the bank and say you get a 30-year mortgage so that you can keep your mortgage monthly payment low, by the time you pay it back to the bank, depending on what your APR, your annual percentage rate, you're actually going to be paying double what you thought you paid for your house. Like, I would really strongly encourage, if you don't take anything else away from this, I strongly encourage you to dive into what you're paying and how much you're paying for it, and really look at it from like a yearly perspective, not just monthly. Because if we break things down of like, oh, you know, Netflix is only $12.99 a month, and then I've got Hulu for $13.99 a month, and like, if you add all that up and then you actually sit down and look at how much you're spending a year on subscription services for television, it might make you think a little differently about how many you have. So just throwing that out there. I encourage you to do that with your mortgage, definitely with your credit cards, because that was another thing I did. I looked, and actually Discover does this great things where they give you like a spend analyzer. It'll show you how much you spent a month, where you spent it. And then you can also, again, use tons of different websites to see how long it's going to take you to pay off your debt. So it'll, you plug in your monthly payment, you pay more, it'll give you an analyzer, like a spending and how much your debt, just how much you have left to pay off. And like, when I did that with my $8,500 that was never going down, I was like, oh my God, it was going to take me like 20 years to pay it off at the rate I was doing it. It was so frustrating, and I was so angry with myself for not realizing that. I mean, and this was like stuff, it's not like I paid for $4,000 worth of medical bills or something. This was like $20 here, $10 there, maybe $100 there, maybe $200 there. It was bad. And I'm sure a lot of us can relate to that, because I feel like it is so normal. Spending is normal. So normal. It's like drinking alcohol. It's so normal. And so this is a stereotypical thing. Like, you overspend. And I don't know about you, but when I have that pressure, that financial pressure, I am not the best version of myself. I am stressed. Anytime something comes up about money, it's like a trigger for me because I know I don't have it or I didn't have it. And so it took me a long time to pay it off. I got angry and then I got to work. For any time I've ever been successful in anything, it started with anger. It started with me being frustrated with myself, not with anybody else, because this was no one's debt but my own. Jesse doesn't have a credit card. Yes, we have separate accounts. We have a joint savings, but we like our paychecks do not go combined anywhere. We have separate. I can talk about that on a different podcast, but that's what works for us. I'm not in any way saying you need to do that. I'm just saying what works for us in our relationship. And so that debt on that Discover card had absolutely nothing to do with him, nothing at all. So let's talk about a little bit about how do you still tackle that? Again, $20 here, $1 here, you're not going to see much progress. So for me, I'm a very visual person and I needed something that could help me see it continually going down. You know, if you measure things, that's how you see things. Like measure your food. I know it sucks, but if you measure your food, you might actually be under calculating how much you should be eating. I was doing that with healthy fats. But anyway, side conversation. We'll talk about that later. But point being, you need to pay attention to that. And so for me, I needed to start from scratch. Anything that's ever been very impactful for me is, or like tools that I've used, I've had to create them for myself. That's why I created my own shit to do today. Like, can you see it? I literally created this because I needed a daily to-do list, but nothing else had exactly what I wanted. And I do love the to-do list from Amazon. These are awesome. They're fairly inexpensive, but it's like tasks, errands, correspondence, notes. I didn't want all that. I just need work shit and I need personal shit. And then I need a little space at the bottom for me to talk about what I'm grateful for from the day. Not hard, okay? So I had to create this for myself because this is what works for me. The same thing with my financial tracking system. I suck at Excel, but I figured it out. I Googled how to create forms. I probably should know this considering I'm a manager and I should probably know this for my job, but I don't. I created like simple formulas through Excel. So I was literally I put in how much I owed, I put in the date, and then I put in a payment and I had a formula so that it would adjust. And so every time I paid $1, a new field, and I watched the dollar go down, just like a scale, you guys. It was so helpful for me to see that visual. That kind of was my incentive and my motivation to keep going. Because if I'm just like dumping $1 here, $1 there, $5, $10, $100, birthday money, which why the hell would you want to spend your new birthday money on shit you bought 7 years ago? Like, I'm just saying this from my own frustration. Why are we doing that? Okay. So I created a very simple Excel. I'm happy to share it with you. If you ask me for it, I will give you literally all of the numbers that I have. I will share. I don't care. I will share with you details because I love details. I love people letting me get a little sneak peek into what they do because that's how I create my own tips and ideas. So this is exactly what I did. I watched it go down very, very slowly. I also, again, awareness is key. Being able to identify where all my money was going. A lot of people talk about cash and cash is king. I totally agree with that. But I also, for me, cash meant I had no way to track it. So one of the things I love to do and I loved doing was, again, if you follow Dave Ramsey, you should have $1,000 backed up. So I loved getting cash out and then just putting as my cash stash so that I made sure I had that security of having $1,000 in case I needed tires or in case something happens or I don't know, the dog needs to go to the vet or something, like I had that stability for me. So part of that is whenever you're thinking about getting to that step, you first need to be able to track where all your money's going. So again, I love Dave Ramsey, his process. I am not an all-in Dave Ramsey person. Again, I think you should modify and tweak things for what works for you. But he has a free app. everydollar, sign up for it. It's very simple. It takes a little bit of time because you need to add in where all your money's coming from, where all your money's going. But it creates that bird's eye view of the awareness that you need to see where your money is going, what are you spending your money on? Because you might actually be surprised. You're like, maybe you've got like an extra $500 a month. You're like, what have I been doing with this? Again, and it takes a couple months to think about it and figure out, how much are you spending on groceries? Like it's totally fine. Don't feel like you have to have it perfect the first month or the first 6 months. It might take a little while. Again, the ultimate goal is for you to start paying down that debt. So I highly recommend doing that. And again, setting your awareness. Again, if you take something away from this, take that away and try that as well. It's very fun in a weird way to see where things are going. Again, calories in versus calories out, money in versus money out. You might be pretty excited to see maybe how much you have, or maybe you're like, oh my gosh, now I know why I'm living less than paycheck to paycheck. Like I'm spending way too much money a month in your clothes. Like everything's online. You can go look at all this stuff in your bank statements. Maybe you have paper. You can still do it on paper. So point being, that is the steps that I took. So I highly encourage you to do a couple of these things. I'm going to recap. Go to everydollar and create your budget so you can see what you're looking at. Maybe you have another app you can use like Mint, or you can just create it yourself if you love doing that in Excel. I actually know someone who loves doing that. Do whatever works for you. And if you're like, I don't know what works for me, there has to be some system that you have within your life where you're somewhat organized. For me, it was partly like my kids. So like my kids, I didn't want them to miss opportunities at school or miss out on practices. So I forced myself to be very organized with their extracurricular things. And so that was a system I created. That system is what I use for other things because it was important to me to make sure that they weren't embarrassed because they're 15 minutes late for something or whatever that might be. Try to think about whatever system you have implemented already that's already a routine for you. Maybe it's, your morning routine. You get up, you go to the bathroom, you brush your teeth, maybe you put your face cream on, whatever it is for you. Implement however you can modify that system into other areas of your life where you can create good habits. So the everydollar app, I want you to get rid of your current credit card if that's what you're focusing on. Cancel. Don't just cut it up. That's not even cool anymore. Like it's not even cool. You have to cancel it completely. You have to call them. There's a number on the back. Say, hey, I want to cancel. They're gonna be like, oh my gosh, Jessica, you've been a dedicated customer of ours for 15 years now. We hate to see you go. How about we give you 0% for 12 months? And you're going to say, no, thank you. I'm going to be debt free. You manifest that shit. I'm being serious. They're going to tell you that, which is bullshit because you've been paying 12% on your interest or whatever. Like, get into the weeds of the numbers, figure it out, become aware, become your own advocate for figuring steps in your life out that you need to get you to the next level. So I hope that was helpful today. I would just like love to hear questions, hear what resonated with you. If you have a girlfriend, maybe you want to hold each other accountable, or you have a boyfriend, I don't know. You want to hold each other accountable in trying to get out of debt, because I will tell you, it took me 7 hard months of doing all the work. And yes, 7 months of taking my birthday money. Instead of getting a Mother's Day gift, I was like, if you're going to get me something for $50, I want $50 cash because I'm paying off my credit card. Like getting so hyper focused and watching that number go down, you will fall in love with the process. This process will give you confidence to do other things in your life. Like maybe time for you to start that fitness journey, because you know what? If you're like, I can pay off a credit card that I've had sitting and hanging over my head for 5, 10, 15 years, if I can do that, I can do anything. And that's how you create confidence. So that's what I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed this. Like I said, please share feedback. I want to hear what you want to hear about because it's important to me. So have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.